And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC basketball podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to be going over some of the most iconic NBA backcourts in the history of basketball and in the history of the NBA more specifically. I'm going to talk about, backcourts that were most common in history, some of the more iconic backcourts recently, like in recent history that I've watched as well, and of course, some of the best. Now, remember, this is iconic. So this means most popular backcourts in the history of the NBA. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean they are great. However, most of the time, if you are iconic, it means that you are great. Now, this is not going to be in any particular order. Again, this is just going to be a fun little thing that I have set. And while I am doing the list, I will I will give a ranking on where I would put them. But we'll start out with the arguably one of the most iconic duos in the history of the. Nope, it's not pulling up for some reason. I don't understand why. Just 1 second. Hold on. Yeah, I have no idea why the stats are not pulling up real quick. So just give me 1 second while I go ahead and fix that. Maybe it might be because I have both of these slides open now that I think about it. So let me just exit that out and let me try that again. Apologies for the delay. Did not mean for that to happen. It's kind of annoying. But why isn't it working? I don't know why it's not working now. It was working just fine before. Was it because I had the slide closed? Of course it was because I had the slide closed. Oh, that's great. That's kind of embarrassing. All right. There we go. So now we can actually start with this list. Jesus. I don't know why that took so long. I apologize for that. So first on the list is Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. In my opinion, they're by far the best backcourt duo in the history of the NBA. Their skill set is just extremely unmatched. Their duality and their chemistry, it's also unmatched. They're the best shooting backcourt duo in the history of basketball. There is no better duo that can shoot. And these guys, they have so many nicknames, but their most iconic nickname is the Splash Brothers, obviously. And they're called the Splash Brothers for a reason. In almost every single playoff series, they will kill you from the three-point line. And Klay Thompson, he's had so many other nicknames as well. Game 6 Klay was born in 2016 when he went up against Oklahoma City and he hit all of the threes. Every single one of them. It's like every single time in the postseason, you cannot leave either of these guys open because they will make you pay. They would go on some of the craziest runs in the postseason that made the game look easy. And combine that with playing with Kevin Durant for 2 years, or 3 years, I should be a little more specific. They were unstoppable. This duo was and they won before having Kevin Durant, they won with Kevin Durant, and then they won after Kevin Durant. This duo has been iconic. It's been unstoppable for the longest time. And the only real stain on their legacy is them blowing a 3-1 lead to LeBron and the Cavs with, Kyrie and Kevin Love. But aside from that, they have nothing to worry about, and there's really no argument for them not being the best. I don't see any other duo that could be ranked better than them. I mean, Steph Curry, he's a dominant ball handler as well, and not to mention the shooting that they do in the postseason. It's ridiculous. They've sort of, with age and with Klay Thompson on the decline, it's sort of died down a little bit, but they were a force to be reckoned with in the postseason. It was dangerous. So that's one dynamic duo that's down. Next we have, let me just go ahead and pull up the other one. Here we go. Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. This is definitely going to, Eric is definitely going to love this. Go ahead and watch the wrestling podcast if you haven't already. That he's the host for wrestling, but Eric, he loved the Spurs and when he watched basketball back in the day, and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili are by far one of the most underrated backcourts in the history of the NBA, in my opinion. Definitely one of the most underrated. When they were on the Spurs, they won 4 championships together. Tony Parker won the Finals MVP in 2007. They were also paired up with Tim Duncan. The entire Spurs as a team, when they were that big three, along with Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, they never missed the playoffs, ever. Every single year that they've played, they've always made it to the playoffs. And they have 4 championships to their name, and Tony Parker having a Finals MVP to his name. That it's more than iconic. But the thing is, the fact that they were on the Spurs and they weren't as flashy, they didn't really get that much attention from the media or the rest of the fans. But they slowly changed the game. Tony Parker was a wizard with the floaters. Like, that man could float the ball up, and he basically started floaters if you really want to be technical here. And Manu Ginobili, he started the Euro step as well. Now, obviously James Harden perfected it, but he was the start of it. And these two players, they quietly changed the game and how guards play. But no one really gives them their flowers, and no one really gives them credit for it. So figured I'd go ahead and give them that nod. Now, I would put Steph and Manu Ginobili, and I would put Steph, Clay, Manu, and Tony 1 and 2. So these two are 1 and 2. Now the rest are a little bit random, and the order that you put them in, it doesn't really matter to me. I haven't even decided the order yet. So next on the list is Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. So I put both of them on here because they were part of the most iconic Detroit Pistons team of all time, the Bad Boy Pistons. They won back-to-back championships in the middle of Michael Jordan's prime in 88 and in 89, I believe it was. 89 and 90. Yes, I had the years right. Sorry, I wasn't born for that, ladies and gentlemen. 89 and 90, those were their championship years, and obviously winning back-to-back. Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas, they won the Finals MVP respectively. So Joe Dumars won it 1 year, then Isaiah Thomas won it the other year. So it really goes to show just how good this backcourt was. Even though most of the credit with the Bad Boy Pistons, other than Isaiah Thomas, it goes to some of the other big men that were part of the roster, with Dennis Rodman being in that rotation as well. And Joe Dumars is a little bit not many people really remember what he did for the Pistons, for his career. He's one of those. He's only iconic in the eyes of Pistons fans, but everyone else doesn't really seem to talk about him like that. And it's kind of rare and odd coming from a finals that the fact that he's a finals MVP and he doesn't really have as much recognition or fame like one, if that makes sense. But these two rings to their name and 2 rings for the Pistons, some of the only championships that the Pistons have won. So I definitely had to include them on this list because of how good they were as a team. Now, since we are talking about the Celtics, one of the main duos that came to my mind was Rondo and Ray Allen in the backcourt. They won only 1 championship with each other, which is kind of, it's kind of underwhelming, but they were part of the big 3 with the Boston Celtics in 2008. And again, this is a list about being iconic. And when I was growing up watching basketball, these guys were without a doubt iconic. And I liked watching the 2 of them play. I loved watching Ray Allen shoot the ball, and I really liked watching Rondo pass the ball. His playmaking was unmatched. Playoff Rondo, one of my favorite players to watch. And it's really with Ray combined with Ray Allen shooting, these two were a very lethal force because, Ray Allen can go off the ball and Rondo is going to easily find him. Like these two, they only won one championship together, but they were not a duo to be trifled with. Even though Paul Pierce was the best player on the team, but they needed a good point guard and a good catalyst. Like this is just being iconic. And if we were going to if we're going to do like a ranking, like an all-time ranking, these guys wouldn't even make the list. Like, and I'm just going to be honest with you. These guys, they wouldn't make it this high on the list, if that makes sense. And they would be rather low, and they wouldn't be a really high option in my opinion. Now, the next duo, it's going to be a little bit controversial, but this is just in my opinion because it's my list, so I can say whatever I want. And it's James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Now, again, it's just being iconic. And when they played together, when they were on OKC and they made the finals and they went up against LeBron, I really liked the performance that they put on for the NBA and in the finals for the Thunder. Now, one of the reasons, but that wasn't even my favorite, moment where James Harden and Russell Westbrook have been teammates because they've been teammates on multiple occasions. The Thunder, Houston, and now on the Clippers. Now, their time on Houston, that was one of my favorite brands of basketball to watch. They were that Houston Rockets team in 2019, 2020, they changed the NBA and they changed the way that teams view how to play basketball. Like, we talk about Steph Curry influencing the game and the three-point shooting. The Houston Rockets capitalized on that opportunity for 3 straight years. They didn't win a championship in that allotted time, but they tried their best, and the new additions and the lineups that they made were really, really impressive. And they were really, they didn't really work in the end of the day, unfortunately, but it still completely changed the game. And the reason why I say this is because the small ball lineup that Russ and Harden were running, so first off, Russ played some of the best basketball I've ever seen in that small ball lineup, along with James Harden. And that 5-out spacing, it implemented a new mechanic to the game that wasn't previously implemented before, and that changed the game dramatically. Like, now there are other teams that are willing to run an all shooting lineup. Granted, they would rather run pick and rolls with the center being the other option, but aside from that, most of the time you have to be able to shoot, and this was the catalyst of everyone needs to be a shooter. And that small ball lineup, it was really fun to watch, and on top of that, I just like the 2 MVPs being on the same team with each other. Like, that's just, what's there not to like about that? Because, again, these two, they won the MVP separately. Russ won it before James Harden. And then you put them both together in isolation. It was really fun to watching them both work in the paint and watching James Harden hit his step backs. And now another iconic duo is Derek Fisher and Kobe Bryant. Now, this isn't really. Derek Fisher is he's known around the Lakers community and things like that, but the average NBA fan would the average fan and the average basketball fan would probably forget about Derek Fisher and the fact that he has 5 championship rings, all with Kobe Bryant. And again, every player on the championship team is most important, and the Lakers would not win without Derek Fisher, and especially not without Kobe Bryant. Derek Fisher has hit very crucial shots for the Lakers when they really needed him to in the postseason. So I feel like this duo, obviously, I grew up watching Kobe. Kobe was my favorite basketball player. And so, in my opinion, I knew about, I like Derek Fisher, and I knew about Derek Fisher, and I knew what he has done with Kobe. So I had to put him on the list. Now, I know what all of you guys are thinking. but you should have added Magic Johnson and Byron Scott, and like you should have added Bob Cousy and Havlicek and all those other guys. And I'm like, yes, you are right, but we don't have enough time for that. And on top of that, I wasn't born around their time, so I would rather put have players on the list that I've watched and I've seen and could say it's iconic. So with that, we are out of time for the third segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the fourth segment, excuse me, where I talk about the Cavs drama, your guys' favorite topic. I do see that comment, and I will go ahead and acknowledge the comments after this short break as we break into the fourth segment. So stay tuned for that. I will be right back.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.